So as some of you may or may not know, I've been making a new album which will be called Behind Closed Doors, and we've recorded half the album so far. The other half will be completed once we raise 100% of the funds on the pledge campaign, which you can see here. And today I want to show you what the process has been so far for making the record. And obviously everything always has to start with a song. People often ask me if writing comes naturally to me. I say yes, but very rarely. I have had times where a song has come to me and been done in 30 minutes to an hour, but I've also gone months and even years without writing a thing. So for the past year or so, I'm really trying to practice writing. And for me, it almost always starts with music. That's just me. Like the hook for Andrea came to me with guitar. I just like to be able to hear it first, either on the guitar or a tool I really like to use is GarageBand. So even if I don't write the song in GarageBand, I always make a demo in there. But what I like about it is I find hearing something like this bass line really sparks my musical brain instead of trying to make something out of nothing, for example, with lyrics and stuff. So once that's there, I find it easier to make a melody, so this is one I've been working on recently. You said you and I, but you didn't know my baby, please. I'm not one for subtlety, I was pretty clear. So we did 3 songs so far that have drums and bass in it. So what I like about making a demo on here is I get to hear it all back, I know I like the structure, and then I can hand it off to my drummer to learn before we're in the studio so that he knows shots are coming like this. So even though nothing's written in stone when we go in the studio, it's nice to know those important things. So when we went into a hidden gem outside of Stratford called Sarah's Hall, which is owned by Mike Whaling, and we did the drums and bass live off the floor. I played the bass so far. And once we're done that, we move to guitars and everything. Now, my advice would be always do the drums, percussion first, because I find it really dictates the feel of everything. So there was stuff we tried to add percussion to later, like my guitar work, and it just didn't quite fit. So from now on, I'm always going to do that first, and then build everything around it. So even though it wasn't planned, we did all the guitars here in my studio. I don't have any crazy mics, but for electric, I find you don't need them. I use an SM57 and an E609. I always record with 2 of them, one brighter than the other, that way I can blend them or use the one I like the best. But I do spend a lot of time trying to get the exact tone I want. I play through a nice 410 DeVille, I have an 83 Strat, I had a nice Tele I was using, and I have a really nice 77 Ibanez Artist. So I do a lot with mic placement. For example, even this mic in particular was buzzing on one speaker but completely quiet on another. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. So my advice would be, before you buy a $3,000 compressor, get a really good player who knows how to get the best tones out of his guitar and amp. One little tip I remember getting from a great producer from Stratford, probably the best all-around guitarist I know, Dave Kalmusky. He always said use the shortest cable possible. So if I'm not using any pedals, like I always add reverb and delay later. That way you just have control of it. I use a 6-foot cable at the longest directly to my amp, clean as possible. If I'm going to use one of my pedals, I plug in directly to that pedal back to the amp instead of going through all that madness. So once the bass and drums are done, all my guitars are done, we start adding other things like Keys by Charlie McAvoy, and we had Lindsey Beckett arrange strings, violin, Ben Bolt Martin on cello from the Stratford Festival, and then we went over to the Blue Loft. That is Dave Kalmusky's extra studio, I guess, that he's kind enough to let us use. My roommate happens to be Dana Manning, one of the best songwriters in Canada. And originally we were planning for her to help me with 3 songs to track my vocals, but she was so killer with Pro Tools and getting the best takes that a few days later told her I wasn't going to finish the record without her, basically. So Dana is now co-producing and recording all the vocals on my CD. Once everything is completed, we send the tracks over to an amazing recording engineer named Frank Griner. Frank will do his thing, he'll send it over. I'll say, I want a little less reverb or compression on that, or a little more guitar on this, or whatever. And then we keep going back and forth until we're really happy with what we've got. And the result of that you can hear so far is Take It Easy on Me, the acoustic version. Take it easy on me. And Andrea, which is the other single. And they're on iTunes, Spotify, and just about every platform that's out there. So, as I mentioned, I am running a pledge campaign to try and raise the funds to finish this album. There's hats, t-shirts, still trying out the tank tops, not personally, but I'm trying them out, make sure they're good. We're hoping to have the design done soon, and then we'll make sure they're all top quality. You can also pre-order CDs on there, sponsor songs, if you have a business. So thanks so much for listening. Feel free to ask any questions about, the way I record things or whatever. Thanks so much for your support so far. We're 32%, and hopefully it keeps on climbing. So have a good day, and thanks for listening. On second thought,